Welcome to the South African Aboriginal Congress. We are not a political party, and we are not part of the South African illegal immigrant government Khoi-san program. We are the Hottentot, or South African Aboriginal people declared colored, with Act 30 of 1950. Our purpose as the South African Aboriginal Congress is to translate for our people, how they are constructively robbed of their heritage and birthright, and to lead our people to their independence. These illegal immigrants to South Africa who declared themselves South African citizens, gave themselves the right to vote here in our country, and enforce their foreign law system that benefits themselves on our land, and continue to protect those illegal immigrants, who already stole land rights and resources in the past. Everyone therefore has to ask the obvious questions. How is it possible that colonial, settler, and now also of late, liberation movement Black African illegal immigrant beneficiaries get to vote on your land as South African citizens, and sell off your resources to the rest of the world? Let's go through the process of how these illegal immigrants to South Africa, with their politics and political arrangements spun a web of lies through government corruption, religion, and their legal system or acts as they would call them in this litigation play of theirs. When the British decolonized South Africa, they were acutely aware of the Dutch illegal immigrant descendants known as White African or Afrikaner plan to alienate, pillage and rob the South African Aboriginal Hottentot people declared colored of their land rights and resources. As part of the British decolonization treaty before being absorbed into the Union, that later became the Republic of South Africa under the Dutch illegal immigrant descendants known as White African or Afrikaner, the British put the land they are decolonizing or Crown lands as it was known, into a trust for the Hottentot descendants declared colored people, as well as pay £300 million per year into the Guardian Fund with the Master of the High Court towards restoration, for the Hottentot or colored people. This treaty and trust were recognized and legislated under their international law system, with an act known as the Colored Persons Communal Reserves Trust Land Act 3 of 1961. This act was further protected with an extraordinary act or law known as the Preservation of Colored Areas Act 31 of 1961. The British further understood that the legislative system brought to South Africa by themselves and other Europeans, was not well understood by the South African Aboriginal Hottentot, as it was a foreign legal system enforced on them. The colored people of South Africa at the time was for obvious reasons, naturally legally incapable comprehending foreign European politics and legal systems at the time. For this very reason, the trust and the trust funds for restoration from the British was put under the guardianship, curatorship, protection and administration of the Master of the High Court, and not with any government or politicians. No government or politician can repeal a trust and no government or politician can be a beneficiary of the Guardian Fund. The Dutch illegal immigrant descendants known as White African or Afrikaner however had other plans. They first took control of Parliament with European education and racially exclusive criteria such as, development system educated whites only amongst others. The Afrikaner then made sure they had their own judge as the Master of the High Court. They then positioned themselves as the administrators of the trust land and trust funds claiming that the beneficiaries have not come forward as they are legally incapable. So the looting began, pillaging, and genocidal reign of the Dutch descendants as settler beneficiaries. Over an 80-year period, the land of the Aboriginal Hottentot was first given to the Dutch descendants as loan farms, that later became lease farms and eventually title deeds. The same play was repeated to settle the Black African in particular. The last 30 years were the most devastating pillage years of your country's resources by illegal white and black settlers. The time has come for the South African Aboriginal people to declare their independence and take charge of the administration and protection of your land rights and resources. There is no room for politicians and politics in your areas. The problem cannot be part of the solution. Contact your nearest SAAC administration office where we are near completion of our trust beneficiaries beneficiation list and identity cards. You can no longer depend on, or leave it to illegal immigrants who granted themselves citizenship election on your land, to decide your and your children's future. You are going to have to do it for yourselves. After our conference in Vredenburg from the 5th to the 7th of May 2023, we will have our march to declare the independence of all our trust lands. The date for the march will be announced at the conference. Look up the South African Aboriginal Congress local councils in your area to make your voice heard. You are no longer victims, you are now the legally capable owners of your own land having your say. Join our councils and events to gather enough information, to make informed decisions about your and your children's future. For further queries about the South African Aboriginal Congress, you can email us on secretarygeneral.saac@gmail.com. For telephone and WhatsApp, contact Joa Yantjes at 074-283-1030 or Lindian Arens on 068-053-3234.